everybody for tuning in. As you know, today we are listening to the Dissonance. We're basically spending some time here with music, with musicians, and with the stories about mental health journeys. And we're now going to spend some time with Mitchell Lopez from NAMI, which is the acronym for the National Alliance on Mental Illness. Mitchell happens to be from our local chapter here in the Lehigh Valley, but there are chapters throughout the country, so you'd have access to their services and their advocacy nearby, most likely. But welcome to the show, Mitchell.
Philip, thank you so much for having me. I am the director of outreach for NAMI. I do things. I'm Brazilian and Cuban. And have been living here in Pennsylvania now for 2 years. And, was born in South Florida and, come from a background in other areas. I was a professional soccer player and less than a decade now. And absolutely am in love with the mental health community and all the work necessary in it. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on. And so what's funny is, when I search for names, when I just Google search names, and it's musicians, sometimes I find, it's people with the same name who are also equally as, findable. And I did see a soccer player whose name was Mitchell Lopez, and now I'm realizing it actually was you.
That's right.
That's very cool. So I wanted to start with the national because I think it's a very it frames the story where NAMI kind of comes from, like the original organization. If I understand, it kind of starts in Wisconsin, right, where two mothers were frustrated by the stigma and the lack of services available.
Locally, and really it was,
sure,
but not unlike the story that you're talking about with regards to people in the community and seeing that we have these issues that aren't being addressed properly, and what can we do about it? So it has a strong grassroots background. What I can say is the wonder of how NAMI works is we have this national program with these signature programs of like peer and family support. And then we have these hyper localized programs that make so that whatever's going on in your community is being addressed, and that's the way that it works on a national scale, given that hyper focus to what's going on locally.
Yes, absolutely. And so I do have the NAMI Lehigh Valley website here. Why don't I bring that up, and maybe you can even speak to more specifically some of the services that would be available.
Awesome. So, right. So here you see NAMI Lehigh Valley. We create a center where you are able to go and access these groups and this program and this education source that allows for people that, and everything is done free, allows for people to see that there are other groups that are just waiting to kind of take in and help you along your journey. We are huge advocates and are constantly doing fundraising and connecting with other organizations to create the very best web that allows for the community to feel empowered and to feel supported. Yeah. When you look at that website, Phil, what's the first thing that kind of pops up for you?
Well, I think for me, it's the fact that obviously someone in crisis would have access there, but I think there's not enough awareness about people who maybe aren't at that point, like that it's okay to ask for help because
Absolutely.
You're struggling with something, not because you're at a crisis moment, and it's better to catch that earlier in the process anyway.
Absolutely. I love that you say that. So one of the big things that I think of when I think of myself with the role that I have to play here is obviously the destigmatization within like my community, the Hispanic community, but knowing that, if I go to my grandmother and I talk about therapy, and I say to her, why don't you do therapy? She'll think that what I'm saying is I'm calling her crazy.
Yep, absolutely.
And so a big part of that is just like you say, um, the destigmatization and just the
Sure.
normalization of it. And I joke, and my way to really offset the seriousness is making mental health sexy. And the reason for that being is because it seems like it's the same way that when you date someone and you know that they go something that's attractive to you, knowing that someone sees a
Sure.
therapist,
Yeah, I
so
think that
it's
we
really
use
a
that
question of
kind of
normalizing. Yeah.
yeah, we use that correlation to physical health as a metaphor also, where physical health gets this, you know, ability to be on a continuum where you're something between, unfit or, or out of shape and at your peak physical performance. And you could be somewhere in between and just working on something. And you would go and hire a personal trainer maybe to help you along there. Whereas mental health gets this on off,
Right,
unwell, well, like,
right, right,
it's only two choices.
right.
And so I get that. And again, hopefully we're getting better at it generation by generation, but there's still so much work to do where
Well,
it's
we
okay.
are. Yeah, we absolutely are. And I know this because there are spaces where I'm invited to speak, and one of the things before I even start talking about the data, start talking about the again the very large seriousness of this situation, is just addressing the fact that we can have these conversations in a public setting, whereas in some communities it's still not something that is acceptable. It's still not something that is celebrated, and
Sure.
it's the shame and the guilt,
Hmm.
and there are a lot of things that we can address culturally that I think, you know like, we wouldn't be having this conversation now to a public audience maybe as soon as like 20 years ago.
Sure.
This wouldn't be something that would be important and would bring in an audience. But today we know that the importance of it is so that we can't go on without addressing these things, and it matters. And the more that we address it is the sooner that we will get to our peak performance as fit as we can be. So
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It's so important because I think it was showing up on the site in a bunch of places, and it's what keeps echoing through these conversations with the musicians and the people who are listening, where there's this element of feeling alone, and once you know you're not alone,
yep.
it becomes so much more bearable, I guess. I mean, it becomes where it doesn't make anything go away. It doesn't make it okay,
Sure.
but it makes where you feel like you have hope and you
Yeah.
can face the next day and you can do that again
Yeah.
tomorrow, and it's
Yeah.
you're going to make progress. And so I think that's what the big help here is the more that we do talk about it and
Sure.
destigmatize, the more people will feel they're part
Mhm.
of a community and can get better, can work through stuff and have hope.
So there's this formula. I'm not a math guy. Yeah, my sister makes a joke that I was a math guy until they started putting the alphabet in it, and that was like seventh grade. Um, but I have a math formula for community, and it's this: you take a bad thing and you share the bad thing, and the bad thing is better. It's
Hmm.
less heavy. It's manageable. It's shared. Therefore, it's divided. And you share the good thing, and it's multiplied.
Right.
So no matter
Yeah,
no
that's
matter what you're going through, when you share that thing, when you take it to your people, when you have your people, and your people embrace whatever it is, whether it's moving and you have too much stuff and you can't do it by yourself, and your friends come and it's a pizza party and now everybody can move, or you win the lottery and now you throw a party for everybody. Whatever it
hmm
is, when you share it, it gets better.
yeah. No, I like your math. I like this. And to apply it to this, to the Listen to the Dissonance event, we'll be covering the heavy topics,
Right.
and it'll be easier to share. And then we'll be enjoying this brilliant music, and it'll
Yeah.
get amplified. So
Yeah.
we're going to apply your math to that day.
My sister will be proud.
So I guess let's really get to the specifics of if somebody is out there and wants to learn more about
Yeah.
how they can seek help either for themselves or a loved
Hmm.
one, what would
Hmm.
be that first step in how that could go for them?
So they'd give NAMI a call,
Okay.
um, and at any kind of reaching out. So we have social media, but any way in which you could reach out, I think we would be able to start the process. And it's just like you said, it doesn't have to be, when things are hitting the fan. It can really be as simple as, I feel like I'm feeling alone, or
Sure.
I'd like to find a support group. And then we have uh, weekly support groups, and I am working on and will be this year, and hopefully in the next few months already, opening the bilingual support groups. And then we have
Excellent.
peer to peer,
Hmm.
which is facilitated by someone that had lived experience. And then you have family to family, which you're working with those that have lived experience living with someone that
Sure.
does have a mental health issue. Yeah.
Right, right, right. So you could even use, so obviously the people who need services or help,
Mhm.
there's obviously that aspect to this conversation. There's
Mhm.
also the flip side of the assistance with donating of money, time,
Sure.
expertise, or like you just said, I'm sure if a family has worked through an issue and is now on the other side of,
That's right.
of whatever you might say is they're now less struggle,
Yep.
they might be able to help out somebody else. So there's
Absolutely.
many ways to be plugged in and involved with the
Absolutely.
organization.
Yeah. And we're always, I mean, this conversation only happens because people are passionate and see the importance of it. And it just takes passionate people that are willing to dedicate themselves to the cause. And you can do that in so many different ways. All it really takes is starting that conversation and putting yourself out there.
Absolutely. Well, Mitchell, thank you to you for all that you do, for all that NAMI does locally here and across the country. And also, I look forward to having you all at the event on Sunday. There will be a table for NAMI there. So again, if you come to the event, and again, you just want to learn more about the services, there will be someone there who you can speak to, and going to be making mental health sexy, from what I understand.
We'll be trying. That's right.
Well,
Cool.
Mitchell, again, thank you so much, and thank you to NAMI.
My pleasure. Thanks for having us. I'll see you. See you
Absolutely.
Sunday.